Hello there you guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just going to be officially updating you on some more current latest news. So news is coming out of the Mirror in regards to Anthony Martial. So reports do say that Solsjaker wants to sell Anthony Martial off, but reportedly this has been overruled by the Glazers. I think it did say in the Mirror that is it Joe Glazer and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have had some kind of disagreement, but reportedly now I think Martial's future has been decided, because Joe Glazer of course is a big admirer of Anthony Martial, and I think it's one of Joe Glazer's favourite players. And I think it did say in the Mirror that Joe Glazer has viewed Anthony Martial as a club's Pele. So as we do know, reports were coming out, was it sometime last week, saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was ready to sell Anthony Martial off, of course, this summer, and it did say he was going to listen to offers, for Martial this summer. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was reflecting on his bad attitude in training, and of course Anthony Martial's behaviour. But obviously we do know Martial's performances have been way below par, at least in the last couple of months. His performances haven't been up to scratch, but he's been at Manchester United now 4 years, Anthony Martial, and during this 4-year period, we have seen glimpses of Anthony Martial's best form. Obviously, we haven't seen it in the last couple of months, unfortunately, but I still don't think Anthony Martial has yet graduated to that level. I still think it's going to take him a couple of years to graduate to that level. He's still 23, he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. Obviously Manchester United give Anthony Martial a new 5-year contract, was it back in January, so we did give him a new long-term contract, but obviously his performances have been way below par in the last couple of months, and early on throughout this season his performance is really good, but at least in the last couple of months Martial has failed to replicate that. But obviously Manchester United got Anthony Martial as a 19-year-old. Obviously we got him in a deal worth £36 million, rising up to 57 or 58 million, based on goals and achievements. But obviously there was speculation of Anthony Martial leaving the club last year, because obviously when we had Jose Mourinho, obviously Jose Mourinho wanted to sell Anthony Martial off, but obviously Ed Woodward had blocked this move from materialising. So obviously now he's still at Manchester United as Anthony Martial, but obviously Anthony Martial had a bad relationship with Jose Mourinho. But I think he's the short-term problem at the moment, based on his poor run of performances. But I still definitely think that Martial is a long-term solution. So it would be bad judgment for Manchester United, if we were to get rid of him this summer. But Joe Glazer has confirmed now his position is very safe at Manchester United. So that is very good news, because it would be bad judgment, as I said, if we were to get rid of Martial off this summer. Maybe if we could get around 70 or 80 million pounds for Martial, then maybe would consider it, of course. And yeah, but I still think Martial is a very important player, for Manchester United. But you can't just put all the blame on Anthony Martial. The majority of this Manchester United squad, does need a reality check. Looking at Marcus Rashford, and now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's team selections are questionable, because he's starting to get his team selections wrong. His tactics are very questionable, and people will say, why hasn't Rashford being dropped? Because his performances have been really poor in the last couple of months. But talking about Marcus Rashford, he has not graduated to that level yet as Marcus Rashford, and it's going to take him a couple of years at least to get to that level where he wants to be, Marcus Rashford. But I still believe Rashford is a long-term solution. I know before that Real Madrid have been interesting, Barcelona have been interesting, but Marcus Rashford for me is still the right solution. I think is the long-term solution. Is the short-term problem at the moment is Marcus Rashford, based on his poor run of performances. But he's more effective, when he's playing in the middle, is Marcus Rashford, than him playing out wide. But Marcus Rashford, he has sustained, quite a few injuries, and I think it's taken its toll on him. It's had a bad effect on his game time, Marcus Rashford's. But he's been in United playing, since the age of 7, age of 8, progressing up the ranks fantastically well, being in the senior squad with Manchester United since 2016. So yeah, definitely the long-term solution for Manchester United is Marcus Rashford. Then you've got Jesse Lingard, he's more experienced, Jesse Lingard knows what it's all about, does Jesse Lingard. Obviously we do know what he can be capable of on that right-hand side, but his performances, at least in the last couple of months, have been very poor. So I do believe Lingard, Rashford and Martial, that trio, I think they are the short-term problem at the moment, based on their poor run of performances, but I think that trio are still the long-term solution for Manchester United. So, yeah, as we all do currently know, Manchester United are expected, to orchestrate a big summer clear-out. And I think, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, has worked out his transfer strategy for this summer, because obviously, he's had a couple of meetings, as he did say, discussing about our recruitment for this summer. But we have got to get the right recruitment this summer, because analysing our recruitment policy is very poor. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, did he say, was it a couple of weeks back? I think this was actually, before the Huddersfield game. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did say he'd allegedly been contacted by a number of agents, saying that their players, want to come to Manchester United. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, said he was very, very surprised about this. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, still believes, we can attract players to the highest level, even though we're not in a Champions League football for next season. And looking at it, if we'd have got top 4, it would have been fantastic for us, if we would have got top 4, looking at the situation, we was in when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first came in, because we was 11 points behind top 4, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first came in. But yeah, I think he's worked out his transfer strategy, as I said, and I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to sign young players, as he did basically say before the Cardiff game. Solskjaer said he wants to sign young players, that can last many, many years at Manchester United, and this is what he basically said, young players, that can come in and grow, develop, and emulate to superstars, and this is what, basically Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said. Obviously, he's looking to bring at least 5 new additions to the club this summer. I do think we need at least 5 new players in. I think, we need to get rid of at least 5 players, but I do believe in the next couple of seasons, our aspirations is going to be that top 4, so Man United are going to be fighting for that top 4, because I do believe we'll at least 3 or 4 years off, for mounting a title challenge up. But as I did say, we're at least a couple of years off City's level, we're at least a couple of years off Liverpool's level, and City and Liverpool are strides ahead of us at the moment. Obviously, the board are going to back Solskjaer this summer. Reportedly, he's going to get a spending spree of around £250 million. But if we can cash in for the likes of Lukaku, Pogba, cash in for Rojo and Darmian, that's going to help us with our rebuilding process, and it's going to help us with our transition. In regards to the director of football, obviously, as you all know, there's been quite a few candidate names mentioned. Obviously, as I give you an update, was it yesterday? It did say that now Darren Fletcher is reportedly the leading candidate, to become our first technical director, because it did say Darren Fletcher was in talks with the club of becoming our first technical director. Darren Fletcher, of course, has played for Stoke for a couple of seasons now. I think he's out of contract now, is Darren Fletcher. But Darren Fletcher, of course, served two decades, was it, at Manchester United, when he was a player at Manchester United. I think he made over 300 appearances in all competitions, won everything domestically for Manchester United. So he served 2 decades with us, did Darren Fletcher. So he's now reportedly the leading candidate. But I think it would be essential, to recommend someone who knows about the club, someone who knows about the club. Obviously, someone who, of course, has got the experience. But there has been quite a few names mentioned. We do know Paul Mitchell of RP Leipzig's being mentioned. We do know Edwin van der Sar has been mentioned. He's currently the CEO of Ajax. Mike Phelan has been mentioned as well. But obviously now he's the assistant manager on a 3-year contract. We do know there's been talks of Rio Ferdinand. So yeah, there has been quite a few names mentioned. So we do need to get a director of football in, to change the structure of the club, of course. And obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to need backing this summer. I don't know if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got the stature or the capabilities, to command us in that position, where we do currently want to be. But we'll have to see how we can get into the club in the summer, and that's all we can mainly do, to be quite honest with you. But, it all went well, when he was the interim manager of the club. He exceeded expectation levels, did Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in that 3-month period. But it just seemed to have all gone wrong, since he has got the job permanently. Maybe some Manchester United fans say, maybe we give him the job too early, of course, and all that. But if this bad run of form, does continue to persist going on into next season, I will be critical of Solskjaer, and I will want him out of Manchester United. But he's still in the process of rebuilding. Obviously, none of this squad is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Of course, we do know Man United have been playing catch up for the last 5 or 6 years. We do know a lot of money has been spent at the club, since Alex Ferguson retired. I think about over £700 million has been spent. We've had different managers with different philosophies. But as I did say, I know there's Man United fans demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be sacked, but we haven't got the structure, to keep sacking managers, and that is the problem. But Solskjaer hasn't got a great managerial pedigree, not to the highest level. Hasn't really got the experience of a manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously we was heavily linked, with Mauricio Pochettino for a long time. And obviously he was on Manchester United's agenda. He was the favourite, to come and take the managerial role at Old Trafford was Mauricio Pochettino. But obviously, Pochettino hasn't proven himself yet in terms of winning any silverware. I do credit him, what he's done at Tottenham. He's done a fantastic job with Tottenham, so far. He's been there 5 seasons, of course. Comparing Pochettino, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows the club inside out. Obviously, Pochettino doesn't know much about Manchester United, but I think obviously, Pochettino has got more the experience. I think he turned down the Real Madrid job, did Mauricio Pochettino. But reports were coming out saying if Pochettino is not back in this summer transfer window, I think he's threatened to resign from the job at Tottenham, because obviously, Tottenham haven't done any transfer activity in the past couple of windows. they didn't get anyone in January, they didn't get anyone last summer. So I think, he needs backing this summer, does Mauricio Pochettino. If Tottenham, want to, graduate, if Tottenham want to be a competitive elite level football club and they want to be up there, challenging and winning silverware, challenging with the likes of Liverpool and the Manchester Cities and that, obviously, Tottenham have got to spend some money this summer. And I do know they've spent about 254 million, since Pochettino got recommended in, but they haven't done any transfer activity in the last couple of windows. Obviously, Pochettino signed a 5-year contract with Tottenham last summer, and so I think he remains happy with Tottenham. Obviously, I think he's set to hold negotiations with Daniel Levy, regarding his future, and I think Pochettino, from his own perspective, wants to know Daniel Levy's plans for the future, of course, before Pochettino makes a decision whether he's going to remain loyal to Tottenham or whether he's going to resign from the job at Tottenham, of course. And but he's well Premier League proven, going back to when he was at Southampton, he did really well with Southampton in his short tenure there, so he's well Premier League proven. He is good with young players, is Pochettino, but obviously, at the time, we obviously saw Ole Gunnar Solsjaker as a much cheaper alternative, than Pochettino, because obviously if we were to get Pochettino, we would have had to pay a compensation of around, was it £35-40 million for him, because obviously he signed a 5-year contract last summer. But if Solskjaer, was to get sacked, going on into the new season, do you think Pochettino, would have the capabilities, to get Manchester United, in that commanding position, where we do currently want to be? But we was heavily linked with Pochettino for a very, very long time. And also, other big news coming out as well, that's been coming out of the media today, is in regards to Napoli's Koulibaly. Now, obviously, there's a number of central defenders on Manchester United's agenda, of course, but obviously we do know that Manchester United have been long admirers of Napoli's Koulibaly. So now reports have been coming out today saying that Manchester United have identified Napoli's Koulibaly as our #1 target for this summer, and it did reportedly say that Man United are willing to pay a world record transfer, to get Koulibaly on the board in the summer, because obviously, we're going to have to pay a world record fee if we've got any chances of getting Koulibaly this summer. I think he's got an initial release clause as Koulibaly, is it around £110 million in his deal with Napoli. He recently signed a new contract with Napoli, so he's under contract with Napoli till 2023. Obviously, we were heavily linked with Koulibaly, under the Jose Mourinho era. Obviously, our priority last summer, of course, was to recommend a centre-back to come in, but obviously, last summer we didn't get as main priority targets, because obviously, the board weren't backing, the signings that Jose Mourinho, wanted to recommend to come in, so we didn't get on priority targets last summer. But as I did say, maybe a player of Koulibaly's, calibre, wants to be in Champions League football. Obviously, Manchester United haven't got this for next season, but I think Man United have got the financial power, to meet his valuation, so he's going to cost you at least around 100 or 110 million pounds, his Koulibaly, so we could still, go in for him. As I did say, Man United had 3 bids, turned down for him, back in the January transfer window. I think the actual recent bid was turned down was around £95 million. Obviously, we were heavily linked to him last summer, but I don't think Napoli were willing to do any business with him in January. Napoli were reluctant, to let him go. But Koulibaly, would address our defensive deficiencies, fantastically well, and I do believe we need someone that can go alongside Victor Lindelof. And and I think we need a world-class central defender, because we haven't had one, since we had the likes of Vidic and Ferdinand. And I think analysing all throughout the course of this season, I think Manchester United have conceded 54 goals this season, and that is really bad. So you can see that we definitely need to get a central defender, and you can see the deficiencies in our back line. So I think a player of Koulibaly's level, I think Koulibaly would be fantastic for Manchester United. Of course, obviously he hasn't played in the Premier League yet. Obviously he's nearly 28 years of age, so he is highly experienced, but he's very good in the air. He shows that ability, that he can play out from the back, can Koulibaly, and I do believe if he was to come to the Premier League, he would produce and deliver the same element of the performances, that he has been doing in his number of years in Italy with Napoli. I think he's been at Napoli about 5 seasons now. I think he's made about 211 appearances in all competitions, but he's been on Manchester United's agenda, for quite some time. But yeah, it did say, Man United, we've identified him now as our #1 summer target, and it was initially Jadon Sancho, our #1 target, but obviously now it's looking like, Jadon Sancho is not coming in. I think he's set to remain loyal to Borussia Dortmund. He even though Man United were willing to pay up to the £100 million for Jadon Sancho, but I think Jadon Sancho is set to turn down a £100 million move. He's intending on spending at least another season with Borussia Dortmund, and it's looking likely going into the new season that Jadon Sancho will continue applying his trade in Germany with Borussia Dortmund. But Manchester United have been heavily linked with Jadon Sancho for a very, very long time. Only 19 years of age, he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. I think he primarily, plays as a winger, there's Jadon Sancho, but he can play him centrally, of course, and he's one of England's youngest upcoming talents, is Jadon Sancho, but I don't think we're going to get him in the summer. So now I've identified, Koulibaly as our #1 summer target. So we could still possibly get Koulibaly, of course. Man United, I think, are willing, to pay a world record transfer for him. But, as I did say, they're currently the most expensive, defender in the world at the moment, is obviously, Liverpool's Virgil van Dijk, of course, who Liverpool paid £75 million for, was it 16 months ago? They got him in January of 2018, and he's done really, really well for Liverpool as Virgil van Dijk. And, imagine Koulibaly and Virgil van Dijk as a centre-back partnership in Liverpool's team, that would be fantastic, from a Liverpool perspective. But I can't see, Liverpool, spending, another load of money on a central defender, and Liverpool don't even need a central defender now. They've addressed the deficiencies with that Virgil van Dijk signing. Obviously they've got Joe Gomez there, so I think they've got a very, very good defensive line of Liverpool, of course, and we've obviously analysed that throughout the course of this season. Defensively they have been very, very impressive, so I hope we can get Koulibaly on the board. He will improve us defensively, and we will see, and I think he'll blend in very, very well alongside Victor Lindelof in our back line. Obviously, we do know there's been other defenders with Manchester United, of course, and have been interesting. Obviously, Toby Alderweireld has been mentioned, and I still think he'd be a good upgrade in our defence, with Toby Alderweireld. Obviously, looking at it, he's a much cheaper alternative, than Koulibaly. He's a much cheaper alternative than the Koulibalys, than the Rafael Varans, than the Harry Maguires. He's a much cheaper alternative as Toby Alderweireld. He is available for £25 million this summer. That's his current release clause, Toby Alderweireld, but he's well Premier League proven. He knows about the Premier League, and I still believe, he would be a very, very good leader in our back line, Alderweireld, if he was to come in, but he has been on Manchester United's agenda. Don't get me wrong now, I have got reservations about him, his age, he has lost that yard of pace, but yeah, he's been linked to a move to Manchester United. Other central defenders, Manchester United have been interesting. Yeah, Harry Maguire, there has been a lot of talks about him going on. I think recent reports did say he was previously valued at around 70 or 80 million pounds with Harry Maguire. I don't think Man United are intending on breaking the world transfer record there for Harry Maguire. But yeah, he's well Premier League proven. He's in his mid-20s, he's 26 years of age, so he's in his prime. He has still got a lot of years ahead of him as Harry Maguire. But Manchester United were linked to him last summer. Harry Maguire obviously committed his long-term future with Leicester last summer. Obviously, signing a new 5-year contract, so he's under contract with Leicester until 2023. Work there, guys. He's under contract with Leicester until 2023, is Harry Maguire. But yeah, he's 26 years of age. He's very, very tall, which is very, very beneficial indeed. So yeah, Manchester United have been linked with him. But I think Leicester paid around, was it £17 million for him from Hull City. But yeah, he's been on Manchester United's agenda. So we could go in for him in the summer. Of course, he's British as well. And Ole Gunnar Solsjaker has emphasised an interest in quite a few British players. So he's been another central defender, that Manchester United have been interested in. He's been another central defender that Manchester United have been interested in. So yeah, there's been a number of central defenders on our agenda, of course. And yes, so Harry Maguire, Toby Alderweireld, Koulibaly. We do know there's been talks of Rafael Varane, but I don't see us getting Rafael Varane because I think Real Madrid, are reluctant, to sanction him off. I think, as I did say, I think the only chance we'd have of getting Rafael Varane is as if he was, part of a deal with Paul Pogba. So I don't see us getting Rafael Varane. But yeah, we've definitely got to get a central defender in, someone that can go alongside Victor Lindelof. I think definitely Rojo is going to be on his way out of the club in the summer. I think Darmian's going to be on his way out of the club in the summer, so we could get around £30 million for them too, so that's going to help us as I did say, with our rebuilding process. Obviously, as reports have been going on in the last couple of days in regards to Eric Bailly, I also think Eric Bailly could be possibly on his way out of the club, because Eric Bailly has been at Manchester United since 2016. Paid £30 million for him from Villarreal. but now reports have been circulating saying that Arsenal are interested in Eric Bailly, but reportedly Manchester United are demanding around £30 million for him, so we are looking to recoup the initial £30 million, we did pay for him from Villarreal, so I think we are agreeing to sell him off, as long as we can get £30 million for him, because Eric Bailly, burst into the scenes, when he did come into the Premier League, of course, but obviously now he's initially lost his players in the team. I think, the amount of injuries he has sustained, his fallout with managers has had a bad effect on his Manchester United career. Eric Bailly's been at Manchester United, now over 3 years. Obviously, I think he's made about 50 appearances in the Premier League for Manchester United as Eric Bailly. I think he's got like a year left on his contract, but initially, he's found game time very, very difficult, because obviously Solskjaer's preferred the likes of Smalling and Phil Jones ahead of Eric Bailly. But yeah, he's heavily linked with a move to Arsenal. Do you think it'd be the right solution for the Arsenal Football Club? Obviously, they know they need a central defender. I think they're looking for a long-term replacement for Koscielny. But obviously, Arsenal have got a Europa League final to think about, and that's very, very good. In their rebuilding process, and analysing Arsenal's season. Of course, they have done pretty well to say. It's only been Umrahim's first season at the club. Obviously, they want to win that Europa League so they can get in Champions League football for next season. Arsenal, of course, because obviously they missed out on that top four. They finished fifth in the league. So obviously, Arsenal, of course, will want to win the Europa League, of course, and. But yeah, Arsenal did get 5 new additions to the club, to their club last summer, of course. I think, but they only cost like just over £70 million, was it? Obviously, back in January, they were only restricted to loan signs, so they couldn't do any permanent deals back in the January transfer window. So I do believe maybe Umrahim does need a couple of windows, to get Arsenal to be in a competitive elite level football club, to get them up there, challenging for trophies in that. I do believe, Umrahim does need a couple of windows, to strengthen up, but in recent seasons, they have got some good players in Arsenal. They've got Lacazette and Aubameyang in recent seasons, and they've done very, very well for Arsenal. They've looked a very good partnership for them. They've blended in very, very well together. They can both score goals, can Lacazette and Aubameyang, and I do believe they lead the lines very, very well. But obviously, Arsenal Aaron Ramsey, of course, is leaving as well. So I think they need a couple of windows to Arsenal. But obviously, yeah, so they're interested in Eric Bailly, but reportedly Manchester United want around £30 million. And again, that's going to help us with our rebuilding process. But obviously, when Jose Mourinho was here, obviously, he bought 11 players. Obviously, that just cost just under 400 million. I think we spent just under £400 million on 11 players when Jose Mourinho was here. But obviously, Eric Bailly, of course, was actually the first signing, and I do really, really like him. I think he's got a great potential, but I think he's too injury prone now, and maybe we do need to get rid of him this summer. Maybe from Manchester United perspective, we'd actually rather send him abroad, because obviously, Arsenal are an arch rival. But yeah, it could be looking likely, Eric Bailly, of course, is going. I do believe the likes of Chris Smalling and Phil Jones, I think they should leave in the summer, but I don't think they will. I think it was bad business for Manchester United, giving Smalling a new long-term contract, giving Phil Jones a new long-term contract. That was bad. For Manchester United, and we shouldn't have basically, done that. Comparing Phil Jones and Chris Smalling, I think Chris Smalling's a much, much better defender than Phil Jones, but I don't think none of them, will leave in the summer transfer window. Jones has been here 8 years. Chris Smalling's been here about 9 years now at Manchester United, so they have been too long serving players at the club. But I do believe they should both leave, but I don't think they currently will. But we shouldn't give Smalling and Phil Jones a new long-term contract. But yeah, we need a central defender that can go alongside Victor Lindelof. Analysing Victor Lindelof's performances this season, they have been very, very impressive, because analysing Victor Lindelof in his first season, he was very, very inconsistent. Really, really struggled. Did Victor Lindelof, of course, didn't really settle in, but I've been very, very impressed with him this season. I think he's held his line very, very well. I think his distribution's improved. I think he's showed that ability, that he can play out from the back. So I've been very, very impressed with Victor Lindelof. And yeah, so I do believe, we do need 3 new additions in our midfield, and we've got to get 3 new additions in our midfield, and I do believe, we need creativeness in that midfield, and we do need someone, we need depth in that midfield, and I do believe that we need someone, that can score goals from that midfield, and there's been quite a few midfielders on Manchester United's agenda. But as I updated you earlier on in regards to Paul Pogba, of course, obviously now I think he's still going to be making the move to Real Madrid, is Paul Pogba. Obviously, Patrice Evra has had his say on the whole scenario, and Patrice Evra, you know, basically claims that the Manchester United fans are killing Paul Pogba. This is from Patrice Evra's perspective, and Patrice Evra, you know, does think that Paul Pogba will leave Manchester United in the summer. Obviously, as you all know, he was subjected to abuse from a Manchester United fan, was Paul Pogba. As I did say, I don't agree with it, of course, but, you know, credit to Paul Pogba, you know, he dealt with the situation, you know, very, very well. But now reports have been coming out today saying that Paul Pogba's talks with Real Madrid have currently stalled, you know, based on Paul Pogba's 13 million a year wage demands, because obviously, you know, Paul Pogba's wage demands do not fit, you know, the wage structure of Real Madrid. So potentially, yeah, so this is having a bad effect, you know, on negotiations, you know, between Paul Pogba and Real Madrid. I still believe he probably, you know, will make the move to Real Madrid with Paul Pogba. Obviously, reports came out, was it quite a few weeks back, saying that initially Real Madrid were not willing to match his £290,000 a week wages. So it did say, you know, that Paul Pogba would have to take some kind of a pay cut. But obviously, you know, analysing his performances, at least in his last 7 or 8 games, you know, it just emphasises, you know, that he doesn't want to be at the club, Paul Pogba. And we have seen glimpses of Paul Pogba's, you know, best form, mainly during that 3 months under Ole Gunnar Solsjaker as interim manager. You know, we saw the best of Paul Pogba, and it was when mainly Herrera was playing, you know, we've seen the best of Paul Pogba, because when Herrera plays, you know, obviously, you know, he frees up Paul Pogba, of course. Obviously, Paul Pogba's still got over he's got 3 years left on his contract, hasn't he? Paul Pogba, well over 2 years, with an option of a third year as Paul Pogba. And I think Man United have been in negotiations to try to get Paul Pogba a new contract at the club. But there are reports coming out a while back saying that Man United were willing to offer him the captain's armband on a permanent basis, you know, to convince him to stay at the club. But obviously, you know, Zinedine Zidane is a big admirer of the player. Obviously, you know, it's one of Zinedine Zidane's, you know, it's one of Zinedine Zidane's main priority targets. Obviously, Zinedine Zidane has identified his 2 main targets, and that's obviously, you know, Paul Pogba and Chelsea's Eden Hazard. Reports are saying that obviously, you know, Real Madrid have agreed an £86 million deal for Eden Hazard, and that's what it, you know, basically said. But yeah, talking about Paul Pogba, and I think he's on his way out. But as I did say, we can get at least around 120 or 130 million pounds from him. You know, that will be very, very beneficial for us. And you know, we could get 2 players with that money, as you all do currently know. And maybe a player of Paul Pogba's calibre, you know, wants to be playing to the highest level. You know, wants to be up there competing. You know, wants to be up there winning trophies. And maybe Paul Pogba, you know, wants to be playing amongst better players. And obviously, you know, he isn't getting this Manchester United. Recent reports did say as well that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Paul Pogba's relationship is slowly fading, because obviously, you know, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you know, managed the Manchester United reserve team, you know, he watched some of this team at this day and age, you know, grow and develop, and obviously, you know, one of them was Paul Pogba. So he has built a great relationship with Paul Pogba as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but recent reports have said that Solskjaer and Pogba's relationship is slowly fading. But yeah, I think he's going to be on his. He's going to make his move to Real Madrid. His Paul Pogba, because obviously he was talking a lot about Real Madrid. Was it about 3 or 4 weeks ago? So that just indicates that he's not intending on spending the rest of his playing career in England with Manchester United. You know, he's still 26 years of age. He's in his prime. You know, he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. There is now reports coming out saying that Barcelona have joined the race. Obviously, Barcelona, I think, were linked with Paul Pogba last year. I think, yeah, Barcelona were linked with Paul Pogba last year. I think Juventus were linked to him last year. They were interested in re-signing Paul Pogba. Obviously, you know, based on Paul Pogba's poor relationship with Jose Mourinho, and in that aspect, Paul Pogba, you know, got one of his best wishes, of course, you know, when Jose Mourinho left the club. So I definitely, you know, think Paul Pogba, you know, is going to be going to Real Madrid. But at the moment, his wage demands, you know, are a stumbling block in negotiations, of course. So reportedly, Paul Pogba's wage demands are around 13 million a year, and this is what's holding talks up, you know, between Paul Pogba and Real Madrid. So yeah, we do need a replacement for Paul Pogba, of course, if he goes. And obviously, I think Bruno Fernandes, you know, would be the right you know, solution. I think he'd be a good replacement for Paul Pogba. You know, there has been a lot of talks about Bruno Fernandes, and Manchester United have been linked to him, you know, for quite some time now. You know, reflecting on his impressive performances throughout the course of this season with Sporting Lisbon. You know, he can score goals, he can provide. Can Bruno Fernandes, only 24 years of age, you know, still got a lot of years ahead of him. His initial release clause is around 85 or 86 million pounds. Is it? Is Bruno Fernandes. But Man United have been scouting him at least for like a couple of months now, you know, reflecting on his impressive performances. Recent reports did say that Manchester City, you know, were interested in Bruno Fernandes. It did say City were in talks with Sporting Lisbon over a deal worth around £47 million for Bruno Fernandes. It did say City were willing to offer one or two of their players as part of the deal, but recent reports did then indicate out saying that City have opted out of the race for Bruno Fernandes. So now this does actually, you know, give Manchester United, you know, advantage, you know, to going for the player. But obviously, you know, a player of Bruno Fernandes' calibre, obviously the much attractive option, you know, would be Manchester City for Bruno Fernandes. But you know, Man United are still very in for him. Of course, I think it did say Sporting Lisbon want around £60 million for him. He's still got a contract with Sporting Lisbon until 2023. But yeah, very good player. So could possibly in next season could Bruno Fernandes, you know, be playing his trade in English football, because obviously, you know, he's been, I think, in Portugal now with Sporting Lisbon a couple of seasons. Obviously, he had a lot of experience playing in Italy, you know, when he was young, you know, with Underneath and Son Pandora. But he's primarily an attacking midfielder, is Bruno Fernandes, and I do think, you know, he delivers them goals that we do need. But he's been on Manchester United's agenda, you know, for quite a while, as Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, other midfielders, you know, like Manchester United have been interesting, as I do keep saying, you know, I do think Youri Tielemans, you know, would be the right solution for Manchester United, and I think Youri Tielemans and Bruno Fernandes, you know, would be absolutely fantastic in our midfield, and I think they blend in our midfield very well, because Youri Tielemans has also got goals in him. Youri Tielemans is also very young, you know, he's only 22 years of age. Manchester United have been interesting. I think quite a few teams have attracted their interest in Youri Tielemans. I think it did say Arsenal were interested. I think it's also said that Tottenham have been interested in Youri Tielemans. Obviously, at the moment, he's on a loan with Leicester City, with Youri Tielemans. But I think from Leicester's perspective and Brendan Rodgers' perspective, I think Leicester are in talks with Monaco, of course, because I think Leicester, you know, want to get him on a permanent deal. I think from Youri Tielemans' perspective, he's basically said that he's expected, you know, to return to Monaco at the end of his loan spell with Leicester. But he's also, you know, been on Manchester United's agenda, and he's been very impressive, you know, since he's gone on loan with Leicester. You know, he's been on loan at Leicester, you know, since January as Youri Tielemans, but Manchester United have also, you know, been linked with him. Obviously, we do know that we've been linked with Declan Rice. You know, there has been a lot of talks about West Ham's Declan Rice, and I do really like Declan Rice, and as I did say, I think we need 3 new additions in that midfield if Paul Pogba, of course, is to go, and I think Declan Rice, Youri Tielemans is a central midfielder. I think, you know, Bruno Fernandes is primarily an attacking midfielder, and Declan Rice is a defensive midfielder. So I think if them 3 midfielders, you know, were to come in, I think it'd be a massive improvement in our midfield. And Declan Rice is only very young, you know, he's only 20 years of age. He's one of England's hottest prospects, is Declan Rice, and I think, you know, he could be available for around 40 or 50 million pounds this summer, could Declan Rice. Obviously, he's well Premier League proven, as I said, you know, he's learned his trade in the Premier League. You know, he's been at West Ham a number of years now. I think he's been in the senior squad with West Ham a couple of years, as you know, Declan Rice. But yeah, Manchester United have been interesting. I think it's been one of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's prime targets. I think Declan Rice is primarily a defensive midfielder, but he can operate as a centre-back. But I think we needed a centre defensive midfielder anywhere that's fast and tenacious. I think he's got a long-term contract with West Ham, so he's under contract with West Ham until 2024. But yeah, there has been a lot of talks about him. Obviously, you know, Joe Felix, you know, from Benfica, you know, there has also, you know, been a lot of talks about Joe Felix, of course, you know, only 19 years of age, got a buyout clause around £100 million. That's his buyout clause, of course. Joe Felix, obviously, you know, plays for Benfica. Obviously, I don't think he's yet made his senior debut with Portugal, and I think it's only been this season, his first season. I think this has been actually, you know, his first season in the senior squad with Benfica, of course. You know, Joe Felix, he only actually, you know, broke into the first team last year, but since he's got into that first team, he's been very impressive. Indeed, he can score goals, he can play between the bylines, he can provide as well, which is very good. He's primarily an attacking midfielder, but he can play as a winner. He can also play as a striker and a second striker, so he can play him in a number of positions. So he is versatile. He's Joe Felix, and Man United have been scouting him now for at least a couple of months, you know, reflecting on his impressive performances. It also said that Manchester City were linked with Joe Felix. So yeah, there has been a lot of talks about him going on. Obviously, you know, as reports were saying, was it last month, and recent reports have been going on about it, most recently, talking about, Everton's Idrissa Gueye. It did say Everton, want around £40 million for Idrissa Gueye, because it did say Everton, I think, are now willing to accept that Idrissa Gueye, does want to leave Everton Football Club, but Everton want around £40 million. Everton are demanding, obviously, over 5 times more than what they initially paid for him from Aston Villa, which I think Everton just paid over £7 million for him from Aston Villa, Idrissa Gueye. But Idrissa Gueye is highly experienced, he's 29 years of age, he's a Senegal international. I think he's a defensive midfielder, is Idrissa Gueye. But he's been on Manchester United's agenda. I think also PSG have been linked with him. Obviously, PSG, tried getting Idrissa Gueye, back in the January transfer window. But I think Everton at that point as well were demanding around £40 million. Idrissa Gueye, of course, still got 3 years left on his contract with Everton. Obviously, he got his contract renewed in February of last year, probably based on his amazing performances for Everton. But he's well Premier League proven as Idrissa Gueye, of course. Obviously, he can score goals, as he has proven. I think the majority of his appearances have obviously come at Everton. I think he's made about 99 appearances in the Premier League for Everton. I think when he was at Aston Villa, he made about 35 appearances, but he only spent 1 season with Aston Villa. So all in all, he's made about 134 or 135 appearances in the Premier League as Idrissa Gueye. But yeah, there has been a lot of talks about him going on. Obviously, do you think he'd be a good ideal replacement for Ander Herrera? Comparing Idrissa Gueye and Ander Herrera, you can say Ander Herrera is better. Ander Herrera has had better of the career than Idrissa Gueye. But do you think Idrissa Gueye, would be the right solution for Manchester United? So there has been a lot of talks about him going on. But yeah, as I did currently say, I expect at least maybe 5 players, to leave Manchester United this summer. But obviously, as I've said to you, the players we do want to leave, obviously, we're not going to be able, to get rid of them in one window. It is going to take a couple of windows, to resolve this problem. And yeah, so definitely, Alexis Sanchez, I do believe has got to leave the club, because Alexis Sanchez has been so inconsistent as a Manchester United player. Obviously, as you all do know, in the press, was it yesterday or the day before, to give you an update on, it did say Man United, could use Sanchez, to sign Paulo Dybala this summer, because obviously, discarding a swap deal, and all that, for Sanchez, discarding Sanchez as being part of the swap deal and all that, or, Manchester United, not paying him half his wages off and stuff, or loaning him out, it's going to be very, very hard, to sanction Alexis Sanchez off, because obviously, there won't be many teams out there, if any, that can afford to pay his wages off. So maybe it would be beneficial, to get rid of him, through a swap deal, or maybe loan Alexis Sanchez out, or maybe Manchester United, of course, pay half of his wages off, because I think his wages are really having a bad effect on the club. Obviously, he's on 400 grand a week as Alexis Sanchez, obviously the highest paid player at the club, the highest paid player in the Premier League. And since he's come to Manchester United, he has become an injury prone player. He's currently now out with an ankle injury as Alexis Sanchez, but I do believe that he should go this summer. But I thought when we got him 15-16 months ago, I thought he would have been a fundamental player for Manchester United. I thought he'd done really well for us, reflecting what he did at Arsenal. Obviously he played under Pep Guardiola when he was younger, but he just hasn't lived up to expectation levels at Old Trafford as Alexis Sanchez. So I do believe, we do definitely, need to get rid of him. And talking about Paul Dybala, he's been on Manchester United's agenda, for some time now. Man United have been linked to him. There were reports coming out the other week saying that Man United were in talks with Juventus, over the possible move for Dybala. I think the reported fee was around £85 million, as it did currently say. But it did basically say that Sanchez's agent was in Italy, negotiating with the Juventus director, possibly Sanchez going to Italy this summer. And, Dybala's been part of the deal, Dybala coming to United. But Dybala, as I did say I've got some reservations about Paulo Dybala, but he can score goals, can Dybala, and he's been at Juventus now a number of years. Obviously, analysing this season, he's enjoyed a very difficult time as Dybala, because obviously since the arrival of Cristiano Ronaldo at Juventus last summer, Dybala, of course, has been in and out of the team. So that's why there has been reports saying that possibly, Paulo Dybala, could leave Juventus. But he's been linked with a move to Manchester United. And I do believe we need a goal scorer. We need someone that can lead the lines, someone that can score goals for us, because, we just haven't been ruthless enough in front of goal. We haven't been scoring enough goals. And that's our problem as well. We've got problems defensively, problems up front, because we're not scoring enough goals. And we do need to get someone in there, that can score goals. And Paul Dybala, can score goals. If he was to come to Manchester United, if he was to score goals, that would be good enough, whilst he was adapting other areas of his game. I have got some reservations about him, but he's still 20 25, you know, Dybala. He has still got a lot of years ahead of him. So there were talks about that in the media a couple of days ago, you know, about Sanchez and Paul Dybala as a possible potential swap deal. As I said, swap deals are very, very rare, you know, to the highest level of the game. So, you know, there was talks about that. Obviously, as I did say as well, one player that's leaving for certain in the summer, of course, and that's Antonio Valencia. So I do believe that we need a replacement for Antonio Valencia. We definitely need a right back. We need an upgrade to Ashley Young, and people will say, why is Ashley Young, you know, why does Ashley Young, you know, keep getting selected again? Bad business from the club, you know, giving Ashley Young that new 1 year extension. So we need an upgrade to Ashley Young. I do believe that we need a cover-up for Diego Dalot. So I definitely, you know, believe that we do need a right back. And as I was saying, we need a replacement for Herrera in that midfield, of course. As I did say, I'm very, very disappointed, you know, about Ander Herrera leaving the club, as you all know. We don't know what's going on with De Gea yet at the moment. Obviously, Manchester United have not yet, you know, come to an agreement to get David De Gea a new contract. Obviously, we can't come to an agreement to get him a new contract. Obviously, we'll want to cash in for him this summer rather than let him go on a free transfer in the summer of 2020. So yeah, we have not yet come to an agreement to get David De Gea a new contract. Obviously, he was linked with a £90 million move to Paris Saint-Germain was David De Gea. Obviously, you know, Real Madrid have been long admirers of David De Gea. Obviously, you know, David De Gea, you know, he's been here 8 years. He's been a very, very good servant to the club so far. Still 28 years of age, and he has still got at least 2 or 3 years left in him, maybe even longer as David De Gea. But obviously, we have not yet, you know, come to an agreement to get him a new contract. And of course, if De Gea leaves, obviously, you know, we're going to need a replacement for him in goal. So yeah, lots and lots to do this summer, of course. Obviously, we do know De Ligt has been a Manchester United tag, of course. He's a centre-back, you know, De Ligt, who plays for Ajax. Obviously, you know, De Ligt has spent the entirety of his career so far with Ajax. But obviously, you know, according to what Edwin van der Sar said, he believes next season that, you know, De Ligt will either make the move to England to come to the Premier League or make the move to Spain. But according to what reports have been saying, I think he's going to be going to Barcelona, because it did allegedly say that De Ligt has agreed to join Barcelona. I think it did say in the Daily Mail, was it the other week or the other day, whenever it was, it did say Barcelona and Ajax had come to an agreement on a £60 million fee for De Ligt. But De Ligt's only very, very young, of course. Manchester United, you know, were actually linked with him. It also said, you know, that Liverpool were linked with De Ligt. But De Ligt, as I said, you know, he's been an Ajax player, you know, since the age of 9. He's been an Ajax player, you know, since a child. You know, he was not, I think he joined their youth system at the age of 9 years old. Was in their youth, he was in their youth academy, you know, for a number of years. He's been in the senior squad, you know, quite a few years now as De Ligt. Obviously, De Ligt is the only defender, you know, to win the Golden Boy Award. But I think he became more of a first-team starter in Ajax's team, you know, did De Ligt, when obviously, you know, Davinson Sanchez departed for Tottenham. But yeah, Manchester United have been linked to him. I think it did initially say he was valued at around 60 or 70 million pounds was De Ligt. But yeah, United and Liverpool have been interesting, but it's looking like, you know, Barcelona are going to get a deal over the line. And obviously, Barcelona have already got, you know, his current teammate, Frankie de Jong, on the board. Obviously, he's going to be officially a Barcelona player this summer. Obviously, Barcelona agreed the fee last summer with Ajax, you know, for Frankie de Jong. I think the fee was around £75 million. So basically, you know, they agreed it last summer, but it is a year in advance. So he's going to be a Barcelona player in the summer, is Frankie de Jong. But they are on the verge of getting, you know, De Ligt according to the press. I think the transfer fee has been agreed, and yeah, but it hasn't been officially announced as yet. So I think De Ligt's agent Mariola has, you know, been negotiating, you know, with Barcelona's representatives, you know, to finalise the deal, of course. So yeah, it's looking like, you know, Manchester United have missed out on De Ligt, but I don't think we want to get him anywhere, because reports were saying that we were concerned about his weight or something. I think it said something like that. But he's only 19 years of age. He's very, very young. You know, he has still got a lot of years ahead of him. So he's been on Manchester United's agenda. But yeah, we've got to be ruthless in this summer transfer window, of course. You know, we've got to rebuild. You can see the deficiencies in the squad, and we've got to resolve these problems in the summer. But going back to what I said at the beginning of the video, you know, about Anthony Martial, you know, this is very, very positive news, you know, to be quite honest with you. You know, now it's looking like, you know, now that Martial's position is safe at Manchester United. He's not going to be getting sold this summer, because fair play, you know, to Joe Glazer. You know, he's come out and basically, you know, he's a big admirer of Anthony Martial, is Joe Glazer. He basically, you know, Joe Glazer, you know, views Anthony Martial as the club's Pele, and this is what, you know, Joe Glazer said, and I think, as it did say in the Daily Mirror, Solsjaker and Joe Glazer have had some kind of a disagreement over it, because obviously, you know, Solsjaker are ready to sell Anthony Martial off, but now Joe Glazer has stepped in, and now his future has been decided as Anthony Martial, so he will be staying with the club. But it did say, you know, Solskjaer, you know, wants to sell Martial, but it did say it has been overruled by the Glazers. So yeah, that's very, very good news. But if a team was to come in the summer and say, yeah, there's 70 or 80 million pounds for Anthony Martial, then probably I would get rid of him. But I still think he's a long-term solution for Manchester United. Is Martial, and there's a lot of problems at the club at the moment, and you know, based on our poor run of performances, you know, based on our poor run results and performances, you know, some of the blame, you know, stems from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You know, obviously the majority of the blame is on the players. You know, some of the blame, of course, you know, does stem from Ed Woodward. So Ed Woodward, of course, has got to take some responsibility. But there's lots to sort out at the club, and yeah, we are in turmoil at the moment. But yeah, so that's mainly everything to update today, guys. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribe, as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.